everybody, to our Parrot Stars podcast. My name is Alexis Highland. I am the manager at Parrot Stars, and I am here today with Ashley and Avery, who work with me at Parrot Stars. We have Lucky in the background preening. He already ate his NutriBerries because we took too long talking about our podcast before we filmed. So he's like gotten his fix of NutriBerries and has moved on.
Snap time.
So as we're recording this is just after we finished our famous summer festival at Parrot Stars. So we wanted to recap what happened at this year's 2024 Summer Festival with our audience. So if you were at the Summer Festival, you can kind of like listen in and remember all the fun times. If you have not experienced a Summer Festival, we're going to give you a little idea of what went down and tell you about how much fun we had.
Yeah, so this was our third annual Summer Festival event. It was the second one I got to participate in. So seeing the change just from last year to this year was incredible. The turnout was incredible. And I just have to say that I was so overwhelmed by the kindness of our volunteers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of work for the staff, but to see the amount of people that came out just to help out and volunteer, even though they intended on being a guest first, it was incredible. The Parrot community, they are amazing and definitely really stepped up their game to come support us.
Yeah.
So shout out to all the volunteers who came to help us. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That was the biggest thing that probably popped out to me too. And this was my first summer festival, so I came into it with new eyes. But yeah, like you were saying, there were some guests that showed up in normal clothes that then threw on a volunteer t-shirt and started helping out. So that's just really awesome.
So fun.
But it was awesome to see the turnout of actually how many people we could shove in the store.
I know. Oh my God.
It was shoulder to shoulder for a few moments, but that's what's cool about it is because people who aren't totally deep into the parrot community, there's a lot of parrot community out there.
For real. So that's kind of like why we started doing the summer festival, is because we were at that point, I guess, 4 years into Parrot Stars when we had the first one 3 years ago. And it was like, I felt like we needed to do something to kind of like bring the community together, kind of say thank you to the customers who are supporting our small business all year. So that's kind of how it came about. And gosh, yeah, the turnout from last year to this year, from year 2 to 3, was crazy. Like it was a big increase. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the summer festival, like mid to late July every summer, and it's a 3-day event. So we had Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday filled with all kinds of fun stuff. So yes, I think hands down, the takeaway from this year was like the support of the staff, the volunteers, and just the way that the parrot community showed up for every single day of the festival was just absolutely phenomenal. So we started out the festival with Friday. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have to say our summer festival started for us like a long time ago.
Months ago.
Yeah.
So we have been working on this. I mean, gosh, for this coming year, like we're already going to start planning like this week. It's bananas how fast we need to get going with it. But we started planning in January. We planned all the way from like with the big stuff from January to March. And then March 1st, we like really started going with the planning. And then so from March 1st all the way through to last week, we were just deep in summer festival planning and thoughts and preparation. So the week leading up to the festival, we were doing tons of inventory and planning and signage and all of that. So thank you for this to the staff who just killed it the week leading up to it, because when we ended the day on Thursday, like we were ready, like things were cleaned up, we were stocked, everything was priced, we were ready to go. So I guess I should share the little snafu that happened just because it was ridiculous.
We didn't foresee.
So unfortunately, again, little more information about the summer festival to the audience that isn't familiar with it. A huge component of our summer festival is that we run the biggest sale of the year at our store. So if you know Parrot Stars, like we'll run little sales throughout the year and we'll have coupons and offers and stuff. But like this is the one time of the year that the whole store goes on sale, and it's both in store and online. So the sale for online shoppers was supposed to start like at midnight from Thursday going into Friday. So Thursday, we finished the day kind of late. I came home. I was feeling so positive. I was like, we're ready. I'm going to make like my powerhouse playlist. So I'm like laying in bed, making a Spotify playlist of like Taylor Swift and Katy Perry. And I'm like, this is going to be the best weekend ever.
Oof.
And so then I'm laying in bed. It's like 12:30. So the sale would have started like 30 minutes prior. So I was like, all right, right before I go to bed, I'm just for fun, curious, going to see if anybody's placed an order yet. And so I go on my phone and I go to Parrot Stars and I see nothing. Like there's no website. And I'm like, no, what is happening? Like this must be my imagination. I'm overtired. Let me go on my husband's phone. So I pick up his phone, go to parrotstars.com, and again, nothing. So then I fly out of bed and go on my laptop, and parrotstars.com is like nothingness. It's just blank, vacant space online. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I called our IT girl and I'm like, what is happening? And she answered. It's now 12:45 in the morning. And she's like, I don't know what's happening. She's like, I can't see anything. I can't fix anything. It's got to be an issue with like our e-commerce hosting site. And I'm like, oh my gosh, of all times for this to happen, like it has to happen at midnight, the day of the biggest sale of our year.
Oh my goodness.
And she's like, okay, well, I can't see anything. And I was like, well, you need to call the e-commerce site and like fix it. And she's like, I can't. Like, there's no way to get through to them. Like, there's nothing online. I can't see anything. She's like, I don't know what's happening. And I was like, okay, well, like, we need to do something. She's like, I know, but I don't know what to do. And I was like, okay, well, here we go. I'm not an IT person. I can basically type things into Google and Word documents, and that's like the extent of my computer knowledge. So I was like, there's nothing I can do in this moment. So I'm going to try to get some sleep and hope that she fixes it. So like 4:30 comes around, the alarm goes off, and I open my phone and go to parrotstars.com, and again, nothingness. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? So I texted her again, and she's like, you need to turn on the news. So I turn on the news and see that thankfully and not thankfully, like it wasn't just parrotstars.com that crashed. It was like all of the world basically was shutting down. I was like,
entire world.
okay, now it's out of my hands. There's nothing I can do. Like just accept it for what it is, and we're going to go into survival mode. So I did my little Instagram post letting all the people know that like it wasn't just our website. Like we're going to hopefully get it resolved, but it was just out of our hands. But at that moment, at like 4:30 in the morning, I'm like, okay, so we're going to lose some online orders, whatever, it's fine. But then I'm like, my staff has not had to go through this yet of like going back to like the archaic time of like no technology to like check people out.
Yeah.
Like we're going to have to do some serious like conversations before we open.
The pen and paper invoices.
Yep. So we walked in on Friday and we had to adjust very quickly to doing everything by hand and do all the sales like on our calculators. But so that was kind of a brutal start to the day.
It was a little like, are you serious? Now of all
The
times.
one
We did
day.
feel like we were
The
being
one
punked.
day, I was like,
It was the whole world. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
I
and we
know.
probably had the least
But
of
you
it
know
in
what?
hindsight.
The whole staff was so open-minded
I
too.
know.
And like, even though we were like, okay, pencils and paper
Yeah.
and like our little calculators, and we're in the Stone Age here. I mean, everyone had a smile on their face. Everyone like really like rose to the occasion. And then thankfully everything came back on within like a few hours of
Yeah.
being
Oh,
open.
yeah.
I
It came
think.
on no
Open,
time.
thank
Yeah.
goodness.
But still, I mean, we were all like, all of this work, all of this time. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
know.
You know, it
One
was a scary
customer in
moment.
particular, though, I wish would have waited a little bit longer to come take advantage of the
Oh,
sales.
because they bought like
Because
10,000
the very
things.
the very first customer that came up to the desk during the Microsoft fiasco had like an entire cart full, both racks of the cart.
Many things.
It was
I
like
okay,
multi-$1,000 order or something
my
like that of
goodness.
just toys, and So it was just,
Literally,
it was a very long process, but it worked out. It was
Thankfully,
fine.
the customers were
the
so
customers were so
understanding.
understanding.
Oh, yeah.
They were amazing. Not that they're not normally, but like
Of
just
course.
so understanding. It was great.
Yeah. So I guess that's, again, the perk of it being worldwide is that nobody's like getting bitter. They're just like also like us accepting it for what it
Yeah.
is. And I think the other thing is like, it's a summer festival and like the people that showed up on Friday to shop were like a lot of our regulars and like local people. So it was
Of
really
course.
wonderful. But
When we're talking about like our parrot community too, I think this, for me at least, was the first time I got to see how big our parrot community truly is. I
Yeah.
know we have customers across the country. We had people coming
Oh my
from
God.
other countries this year. I was
Yeah.
blown away, and they stayed for all 3 days. And people who came from across the country stayed for all 3 days. Some of them even volunteered. So for me, like, yes, I've packed our online orders. I know we have folks out of state, but physically seeing that, I mean,
I know
it was
amazing.
amazing.
I mean, so we had people come in from Canada.
Yeah.
We had Massachusetts, I think every Midwestern state, New
Yeah.
York, Florida. I mean, it was
Yeah.
crazy. So somebody had the idea next year we should do like a little like sign-in book if you're coming in from not Chicago.
I think it's a great
I mean,
idea.
even for our Chicago customers, we're grateful you're showing up. But just to kind of see how many people are coming to the festival now and from where, because just when you're like even, okay, so we'll get to that point. I don't want to like spoil all the things that we did, but we had a DIY toy making class on Sunday. And literally at one table, there was Iowa, Minnesota. We had the lady from Massachusetts, and then we had the Canadians there. I'm like, what is like this table is like, you guys, none of you are from anywhere near here. It was really, really wild. So.
It really brought the parrot community into perspective as to how large it is, but it also kind of brought it home. I mean,
Yeah.
people from everywhere were connecting with each other and like forming relationships where there weren't ones before. It was such a cool experience,
Yeah.
really.
It was really cool. So yeah, we had people starting to show up on Friday that were traveling in that had made the effort to be there for all 3 days.
Yeah.
So after we like adjusted, so sales started on Friday morning, and then Friday night is our dinner with the Parrot Wizard. That though we sold out the tickets to that, I think like April, maybe end of April.
Yeah.
It went
It's
real
pretty
quick.
Yeah, we
early.
sold out of those tickets really, really quickly. But it was so fun. So that was like the opportunity because like the people are paying to like come and like have a more in-depth experience with the Parrot Wizard. And if again you're listening to this podcast and you don't know who the Parrot Wizard is, we've already posted videos with the Parrot Wizard kind of talking about his experience. But it was a great opportunity for people to come and eat and get to know each other in a little bit more of like a quiet setting. And then we had the Parrot Wizard presentation, which was just mind-boggling. So here, you want to tell the story of what he did with the 3 babies?
Yeah, of course. It was pretty mind-boggling. It was really cool to see him actually in work because at the store we are pretty semi-affiliated with the Parrot Wizard because we talk about him. We're
Like
his
his
books
philosophy,
and
yeah.
stuff, and so we do believe in his stuff and what he does. But I'm always just kind of preaching it a little bit. I've never actually met him. But to see him get to work in person was really awesome. Like he truly does. This is his passion. So he
Yeah.
truly knows what he's doing. But what we did, which is super cool, and even though this is my first experience for the summer festival, in the past he has brought his own birds, correct? But this year we sent him 3 of our little baby birds.
Yep.
A little cockatiel, a sun conure, and a Indian ringneck, just right off of hand feeding. So they haven't had much experience with zero
Yeah.
experience of any sort of positive reinforcement training. So I sent those 3 amazing little birds in June.
Yep.
And
30 days
then-
out. Mhm.
Right. Yeah, 30 days. And then he showed up to the summer festival for this Parrot Wizard workshop. And it was just phenomenal what he accomplished in 30 days and what he was able to actually show in front of a very large crowd. I mean, of course, and not only, and I think we talked about it a little bit in a previous episode that's already come out, but the difference between the actual 3 birds was astounding to see and what he was able to accomplish with those 3 birds. I mean, the little cockatiel was already putting his head through a
Oh,
harness
harness
willingly.
training,
Like
yep.
he'd run over on the little training perch and
was
stick his little
the
head in there.
cutest thing ever.
And it was just awesome to see. So that was a big highlight. That was the highlight of the Parrot Wizard dinner.
Yeah.
It was awesome to see.
It was really cool. And I think the other fun component was that we kind of sold it as an interactive workshop.
Right.
And I think the Parrot Wizard executed it really well. Like he was consistently inviting people, like and volunteers. And people were like shy, but I think the more they kind of got through the presentation, we had more hands going up. But he let our customers interact with the birds and do the actual clicker training. And I think that's such a valuable part of learning clicker training is like getting through the physicality of like how to do it, like from the human side.
Right.
And it was really cool to see right side by side how different those three individual species are. So I think it was just a really fun night. And then we always do a gift card. So we do a raffle for a gift card, and that was really fun. And then we did like little thank you giveaways for each of the attendees on the Friday night. So yeah, that was really fun. We did have a little audio difficulties with the microphone. So I was like,
It is what it
okay,
is.
so that's hiccup number 2 that I was a little sad about.
We kept rolling with it.
And then shall we tell them
Are we
about
talking about hiccup
Oh,
number
yes.
3 or should
Yes.
we just
So, I mean, why not?
We felt like we were punked on Friday.
I know.
A lot.
So we were like, done. Everybody's freaking
It was rather
exhausted.
ominous.
So it was like, what, like 10 o'clock at
So
night,
it
I
was
want to
probably
say?
10. And literally, I think I had like said that you guys could go home, but like, because you guys are who you are, they're like, you guys were like, no, there's still garbages to take out. Like, we can at least take the garbages out before we leave. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And so you guys all banded together and everybody like grabbed their trash bags. And we walk out to the dumpster and there's a freaking power pole
Yeah, it's just
down, laying right across the parking lot with active power lines hanging across the dumpster.
I thought it was funny. Nick, one of the staff at Parrot Stars, texted the group and just nonchalantly asked, like, are we aware there's a power line down in the parking lot where our summer festival is getting set?
I mean, the
Oh my
tents
God.
were like set up for the next day. Like tables were ready
We
for
were
vendors.
ready.
Like, and this pole is like feet away from where we have some of our tents set up, and we're like, we don't want to touch it.
It
Like,
was literally feet away from where the kids bounce.
Oh,
yes,
God, yeah.
yes.
Like
God.
there's literally
my gosh.
power lines down next to the kids' bounce house.
Of course,
I
it
was
had.
And we're like,
the weather
oh my
was
God.
gorgeous too. There was no
Yeah.
wind. There was no
and
like
we're
rain.
trying to get help. We're calling people, and they're kind of just like, "We'll get there when we get there," type
I
thing.
was like, I'm
Oh,
about to have 1,000 people in this parking lot.
literally in hours.
And I was like, it's literally
in
like
hours.
8 hours away at this point. But luckily,
It's
the power company came, they cut the power, they cleaned up the lines, and they like called me and they're like, everything's safe, but the pole's still lying in the parking lot.
Oh my goodness.
Which-
They're like, but it's safe. Nobody's going to get electrocuted.
Yeah.
So then at like 6 a.m, thank God for, again, the volunteers, because
Seriously.
one of like, I don't know how to describe Bob, but he is like more or less a handyman and he helps us all the time. So he's out there with like a hand saw
Oh my gosh.
sawing through this pole because it was so heavy we couldn't carry it. So he had to like saw it into smaller chunks to be carried away. I'm like, okay, bad things come in threes. Like this has to be the end of the line of like crazy things that could possibly happen on the most important week of our lives.
Literally.
And something we've been working for 6 months. So I am very happy to report that like literally that was the last
Yeah,
and
it
final
was.
like
Absolutely.
bad thing that happened from 6 a.m. Saturday till when we finished at like 5 p.m. Sunday. It was absolutely perfect. Like I cannot I have zero complaints. Like it was so good. It was so perfect.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was
was
amazing. So like, you know, things that work well, we usually try to repeat or modify for the next year, but we also incorporated some novel things. And this year we said first 50 people that arrive Saturday and then first 50 Sunday, they're going to get a free goodie bag. Each day is going to be different and offer something else. And I mean, there was lines like down the block wrapping around the store. It was incredible to see.
So we were getting ready. Yeah, it was like we opened the door at 9:30, and there was the line
Like
starting
8.
at 8.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, guys, you gotta get ready.
And this was both days too. Like there were
Game time now.
people out at 8 o'clock. Like it was
Waiting at the door.
amazing.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I can't believe it because our parrot community is like so wonderful, and they are so. They want to have fun
Right.
and
Yes.
they're there to have a good time. So, like, I'm not that surprised, but like, I was so grateful. I'm like, gosh, like for all that work we put into it,
Yeah.
it does. Like to
It
see
pays
people
off.
like showing up right when we wanted them to, and like they're so excited and they're in such a good mood when they walk through the doors. Like it was like the way we needed to have Saturday
Absolutely.
start
Right.
after like all the snafus
know.
on Friday.
And the weather too. The weather,
weather was great.
all
so
weekend was
perfect.
perfect. It wasn't hot. It wasn't, well, obviously it wasn't cold, but like,
Was it
it's
rainy?
just
It
It wasn't-
amazing,
yeah,
sunny.
It was
Yeah, never a
perfect.
time to be uncomfortable, even just standing out in the sun.
Both days were super fun, but Saturday was also just there was a lot going
There's so
on.
much going on.
We had
Oh my God.
so many different speaker events. We kind of divide and conquer as a team.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time in showroom, so announcing when there was the next talks, because that would be through our showroom to the next room.
Yeah.
We
So
had
the
our-
showroom is where
yeah,
we
go
have all the parrots.
Yes.
If you haven't been.
yeah.
Yes, we should describe
So
that.
we have a storefront where we
Yes.
have all of the stuff, and then Ashley was manning the showroom, which is where we have tons of bird cages, and then
Yes.
we were letting all of
Everybody
them,
was out.
all the
Flying
parrots
about.
were flying around, and they did a great job.
They did great, and the customers were wonderful. I got so many great questions just about parrots and
Yeah.
species and behavior. We let people, offer treats to the birds, depending on how the birds were feeling
Yeah.
and their stress level. I mean, folks got to hold some birds. It
Yeah.
was amazing.
I
So
know.
much fun. Truly.
I know.
Loved it.
I like go back and look at the cameras from like 12 o'clock on that Saturday, and it's just every single person has a smile on their face. Like
Everyone.
it is really, really
Even
cool.
the staff, like we all were
It
grinning
was
ear to ear.
so fun.
It was a lot
Yeah.
of smiles to count too, because
sure.
it was
Yeah.
pretty packed in that showroom.
Yes.
It
like
was.
for actually all day.
Yeah.
If it was a little less like busy outside or in the storefront, you would walk in the showroom and it felt like a different planet.
Yeah,
because
and that's the
which is cool
thing,
because,
yeah.
and I was just gonna say, it shows not only is our the community really awesome and good people in
Mhm.
general, but they're also dedicated to just why we're here.
Yep.
It's just the parrots.
It's all about them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, this conversation is like about us and like our perspective, but like the whole summer festival, like the whole point of it is like parrot education.
Yeah.
Like, how can we make people motivated to care more or learn more about parrots in like the most fun and approachable way possible? And like just everybody coming in, and we had so many new people that I did not recognize. I mean, the regulars, gosh, you guys are
Thank you.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're the best.
the people who show up for every single event that we do at Parrot Stars, and like they're there hugging us and
Yes.
like giving us praise, and it just feels really good. But then like the amount of people, like unfamiliar faces, and people that like, we had people from my husband's like work coming, and they're like, "Oh my God, we've been waiting for this for 2 months," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is craziness!"
love
Like
it.
they just
Yeah.
have no connection to parrots, but they like through word of mouth, like they just wanted to come and see him up close finally, and I was like, "Oh gosh, this is pretty cool."
Yeah, there's
So-
a lot of non-parrot owners there too, which is great. I mean, you don't have to have a parrot in your life to come and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the festival, but it was crazy to see all the people that came out just who have an appreciation for birds and specifically parrots.
Yep.
There were people who showed up for our Blue Eclectus gender reveal months ago
Yep.
that came back for summer festival who don't have birds but just
Mm-hmm.
love
Yeah.
what we do and wanted to see what summer festival
Yep.
is all about, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
But even though it is about parrots, of course, we really, really tried this year.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this is my first one. So I'm not sure to the extent of what other organizations came in previous years. So we had some amazing animal organizations just
Yep.
to kind of show the relation that it's all about all wildlife in general. But we had amazing sloths there, which honestly were the biggest sloths I've ever seen. I think you can.
I don't know if I've
attest to
ever.
that.
Okay, so when I went to Costa Rica, like they're up in the trees.
Yeah.
Like you have to look at them basically through a telescope. Like you don't see them. To see them and literally reach out and touch one, they were huge.
Yeah, I've seen them at zoos, but it's always kind of that distance, of course, and you always think of them like they're the size of like a little koala bear or something cute like that. But
they were
these
big.
things are like miniature bears.
Oh my gosh.
I've
they were
never,
huge.
anyways.
And they were so soft. They were like velvet.
I didn't actually get to
I
touch
didn't
one.
have the opportunity to touch it either.
All right. Well, next year I'll make sure we give like a
We get a
staff.
touch.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll do a staff like session.
But there was bats and that little armadillo running around in an
Yeah.
awesome enclosure, and
I
a
loved
rabbit the
seeing-
size of like a Labrador.
Yep. Yeah, that was the biggest bunny I've ever seen in my life.
I loved seeing the little eidolons, the African straw bats they had there. For me,
Yeah.
I used
That
to work
was
with those
really
kind
crazy.
of bats. So
That was probably the closest I've ever been to a bat too, honestly.
There's some of the smaller, what we consider flying foxes still, but they're so cute, and it just kind of tugged at my heartstrings because I love the bats. But there's a ton of overlap with them and the parrots too, so I thought it was really cool that she did bring them as well. And
Yeah. So that was incredible bats.
Yeah.
And we're hopeful we're going to have them again next year. Then we had the natural naturalist come.
Yes.
She had, what are they? Patagonian.
Maras.
Oh my gosh.
that was
The craziest
amazing.
looking animals I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely,
It's hard to
agree.
describe.
They are
almost.
like a
a mix between a capybara, a
rabbit, capybara, kangaroo. I was
not
like,
related to
Yes.
Yeah.
at all.
But like
Besides the
appearance looks like
capybara.
those things. Yes.
But yeah,
Oh
They
my
were
gosh. And then she
interesting.
had a huge reptile from,
Yeah.
I want to say it was a South American reptile. Oh my God. That was crazy. So,
giant frogs.
frog-
The
Oh my
frogs
God.
were great. Someone
frogs.
described them as looking like a big mud pie from a cow or something like that.
Honestly,
which
it-
was
they kinda
hilarious. But
did.
they were massive.
I love
These were-
frogs.
Oh my gosh,
Me
it
too.
Yeah,
was
if I wasn't a
crazy.
bird guy, I'd be a frog guy.
so that was the extra animals. Gosh,
Yeah.
see, we're sitting here and we like can't even remember all the things that went on because there was so much. So we
Yeah.
had the animal people come. We had all of the vendors come. They did all of their product information. The field museum came.
Yeah, Chicago.
And they
Field
had
Museum.
their like specimens from their unbelievably huge like specimen collection.
They had
Yeah,
a very
it was-
famous specimen with them. They had
Yes.
Cookie, the Major Mitchell cockatoo. If people aren't familiar with
Yes.
Cookie, he is a Major Mitchell. He used to actually be at the Field Museum, or not the Field Museum, I'm so sorry, Brookfield Zoo
Mm-hmm.
when he was still alive. And he was kind of an ambassador for his
Yep.
species.
The cool thing about him was he was the oldest and only animal left at Brookfield Zoo when he died from when Brookfield Zoo started.
Oh,
So
okay.
when Brookfield Zoo like bought their initial like group of animals, which is a small collection,
Yeah.
he was from like the very, very beginning.
Okay.
So yes,
Yeah.
which was just crazy. I mean, he was in his late 80s, I think, right? Or was he
80
over that?
I think it was around 84.
Yeah, they retired him at, I want to say 70s, but he just lived
Yeah.
out his days wonderfully at Brookfield
If you
Zoo.
see pictures of him, not to digress, but I see pictures of him when he is pretty elderly, and he does look like a grumpy old man.
Oh,
Yeah, he's like his, you know,
he was.
Anyway.
It was just very thoughtful of the
Yeah.
Field Museum representative with the specimens he did bring, and that he brought Cookie was pretty cool. And then we actually have our own Major Mitchell too, so people got to kind of see what a younger one looks like, all that stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
was
I
awesome.
guess
Cookie's
next
awesome.
year we're gonna probably market that a little better because I think it was a little jarring when people saw a bunch of like.
I did have a couple guests saying,
Reserved
"Oh my
specimens.
god,
Okay,
what?"
so I think people that are listening to the podcast might also like. So they're taxidermied parrots. So part of what the Field Museum does is that they taxidermy all types of animals, but specifically their avian collection. They take in specimens from all over the world, post-mortem, they taxidermy them, and it's
Yes.
like a concrete physical record of the bird.
yeah.
Right.
So they're able to compare how birds are changing over time. They're able to like see differences based on the bird's different regions and territories. So I think when we went to the museum that day, I think they said that the Field Museum was the fourth largest
Yeah,
avian
something around
collection
Wow.
in the world.
Yeah.
So for people, I mean, we're pretty like nerdy, the three of us, but we can appreciate this stuff. But like to see the like physical result of that amount of research and how
Yeah.
valuable it is. I mean, they have species of birds in their collection that are extinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is like the only proof that they have that these animals existed on the planet is because they're taxidermied and they're in a museum.
Right.
And that's just pretty mind-boggling. And like he brought a species of parrot that I've never seen before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of, I mean, it's
It
not
is.
alive, but it's still like, it's really fascinating.
He literally brought part of the museum to Parrot Stars. I mean, it was cool. It was very
It's really
cool.
cool what museum work does. I digress. I mean, I did a little bit of that preparation when I worked at the biological museum.
That's right. You did
So
the
you
taxidermy,
harvest, yeah,
right?
and I harvest is a not good word. Sorry, it does not. But we preserve the soft tissue.
Yep.
And so that it can go for the research, and that's what a lot of it does at the Field Museum. Anyway, it's not to get off topic because it's a really cool topic.
I know.
Yeah.
I could talk about it all day,
But
but
it's such a good example. Like I think I'm really proud of our ability to kind of draw on all the different areas of like parrot and bird lovers. Like there's education and there's people doing incredible work in every capacity of like avian care.
yeah,
And I think we did a good job kind of like gaining a little bit of representation from multiple categories. And like we had a person from Fractured Feathers.
Oh,
so
yeah.
she does bird of prey. I mean, she does other species of avian rehabilitation, but she specializes in birds of prey. And if like an owl or a hawk gets injured, she does the rehabilitation with the hope of release. But if anybody cannot be released, she then retires them into being education animals. So she was able to bring a barred owl, I think
Yes.
was a red-tailed hawk,
it was a red-shouldered.
red-shouldered
Yeah.
hawk, and then she had a frickin' screech owl. That was the cutest
Oh
thing
my
I've
God.
ever seen in my life.
There's
He
some
was so
pictures on
friendly,
our
too.
social media,
He
but
was
his
so
little
friendly.
eyeballs.
If you have not seen an owl, okay, so I did a little stint at like Willowbrook Wildlife Center. And you go into the enclosures and you clean, but if you're a good intern, like you stay away from the animals. The point is to clean, not to like be right up in their face. So that was the closest I've ever been to an owl. And their eyeballs are,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just
amazing.
they look fake.
you
They
can't
really
even
do.
describe it until
Yeah.
you see
Very
it up
different than
close.
parrot eyes, too.
Oh my gosh.
Incredibly different.
Oh, yeah.
So different. It was incredible.
Birds are pretty crazy.
So we also supported some small businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a feathers and fur portraiture. So that's an local artist that specializes in a lot of like parrot artwork, but other birds as well. And she's got an incredible display. So we are trying to support local small businesses that are like somewhat connected to the pet world. So yeah, Tina has a great collection of all different types of artwork. And then we had Animals Designs.
They do wonderful custom art for people's pets, and they do it
Yes.
right there. And
Oh my God,
it's
it was
amazing.
so impressive.
They
Yeah.
do really
It was
amazing
incredible.
stuff.
So they do digital artwork,
Right.
but
Yeah.
then they're also incredible artists
Yeah.
by hand. So the digital artwork portfolio that they were showing me was just unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
custom artwork of all different pets. So they do cat, dog, bird, whatever. But then he's sitting there and painting a portrait of, I think it was a pug or a small dog.
Yeah.
I
And
was
it was
like,
wonderful. Yeah.
that is so impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
So talented.
And they were so kind and like they're trying to get their small business going. And I was like, okay, like we're all in this together.
Yes.
Like we
Yeah.
can do it. We can support other small businesses. So I think that's something that we're gonna we were super inspired by this past year with the summer festival that I think we're gonna be even more motivated in for next year, like reaching out to other small businesses, inviting them to come have a table to spread the word about what they do and who they are, and then just grow the education side of it. Like we're going to hopefully have everybody back again that was there this past year because it was phenomenal and they did an amazing job. But we're going to try to expand even more and invite even more people to come. So people can continue to learn about birds. That's the whole point of all this. So
We can't forget about one of the most important people, birds as well, at the Parrot Stars Summer Festival. That was about the whole weekend. Angus McBangus
Oh my
my
gosh.
himself was there all weekend.
Oh, that little green cheek.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
So, anyways, it was
That's
awesome to
so
have
true. I
Angus
was like,
there
I have no
because
idea
I
what
don't know, I was
Avery
like,
was about
which
to
one's
say
who?
right now. How could we forget Angus? Yes. So he is our like Parrot Stars celebrity.
he's a true
I mean,
Parrot
he
star.
really is a celebrity.
Yeah.
He has like a huge following on TikTok. So for those of you who don't know Angus McBangus, I highly encourage you to go to TikTok or Instagram right now, search the words Angus McBangus, and
You
look him
won't be
out.
sorry.
So Rebecca, his owner, purchased Angus from Parrot Stars a number of years ago. And right as TikTok was kind of taking off, she created him an account, and he, I mean, deserves every
Yeah.
second of his fame
It's
and
the
stardust.
goofiest.
He is
Yeah.
the most ridiculous green cheek I've ever seen in my life. So he's famous because he dances to his like special song, which
Yeah.
you can go to her TikTok or Instagram and see it. But she bought Angus from Parrot Stars and she lives locally. So we like a couple months before the festival, we're like, we have such a good relationship with her. And she's always tagging us in her posts. Like she's just so sweet.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's have like an Angus McBangus table.
Yeah.
And so we set him up a cage outside and like they had their little stuff. They had all of their fan art, like their fans that had sent them artwork that they had on display. It was so fun. But yeah, I think they had like the biggest crowd around their table
I
throughout the
saw-
entire festival.
Because there would be guests and they would just kind of look and be like, what? Was there just a random green cheek? And then they would
They would
look a little harder. And
register
then
that
I
it
would
was-
see the look on their face. And they're like, some guests were even jumping up and down. They were like, oh my God, oh my God.
I mean, if
it's
Angus was
McBangus.
able to give autographs, like they could have charged
Yeah.
probably like $200 a pop for an
Yeah.
Angus autograph. That's
But-
how like much people were going
I
crazy.
know
over
next
seeing
year
him
they're
in
thinking
person.
of doing little footprints from him or
Yes!
something like
Oh my
that,
God,
which
they
would be
should.
amazing.
That would
Okay,
be
they
awesome.
should.
And they're
Yeah,
just
I would buy
amazing.
that.
The work they've done with him and how friendly and outgoing they are.
Oh my
Like,
God, he was
I love
dancing the
them.
whole time.
Yeah.
Like every time
Just a
a
happy
new
bird.
person would come up to the table, they'd be like, okay, Angus, do your dance. And he would like
Yeah.
just do it. It was
Yeah.
incredible.
Never gets old.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun. So I guess we should kind of also like go back to the vendors one more time.
Yeah.
So
Right.
to the ones that showed up, but then also the ones that didn't come but still donated to our raffle. We have a massive raffle as part of the summer festival.
Mm-hmm.
It is so epic that like it'd be enough motivation. Like if we just came for the raffle, like that alone would be worth it, aside from everything else, because you have the potential of winning like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of prizes for a couple dollars in raffle tickets. So every single basket was valued at $100 or more. We raffled off baskets that had every component of parrot care: toy baskets, food baskets, harness training, food.
We had educational baskets too, like
yes.
for kids who wanted to learn. There was books and movies. I mean,
It's crazy.
Joyce went above and beyond
Yes.
with that,
Yeah,
but
she did awesome.
so did the vendors with what they donated.
Yeah.
Yes.
wild.
So then we did cages and trees. So you could literally win full-size cages and trees. And like so much of the ability to run that good of a raffle is because the vendors donated. And so the ones that came to the festival: A&E Cage Company, Preview Pet Products, Lefebvre Company. We had Hagen Hari.
We had an Aria table as well,
Yeah.
too.
So it was Aria Birds products. So the vendors showed up. They
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for their support. I mean, we're a small business competing with huge corporations. And these vendors also sell to these huge corporations, yet they're taking time out of their year to fly in, because a lot of them are coming from out of the state. Some of them are local, but most of them aren't. They're literally coming in and supporting our summer festival because they believe in what we do. And it's so wonderful. Like
Yeah.
it's really amazing that they do that. And I mean, there's other vendors that didn't come that still supported us. I know Tops donated, Higgins donated, I think Busy Bird.
Yeah.
If I'm missing anybody, I'm going to make sure we get every single vendor that donated in the show notes so they get credit, because I really encourage you guys to like look these companies up. They're specializing in really, really quality bird products we're super proud to carry their products. Like if we didn't believe that they were good quality products, we wouldn't carry them in store. But just not only do we like them, like the fact that they're so willing to support us just like makes me want them there every single year. And
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope we can continue our good relationships with them.
awesome.
So
I thought it was pretty cool too that this year, I think everyone who did a guest speaking event kind of also had a table outside.
Yes.
So like, I know you did a really great talk about conservation and an organization you were.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard your speech before and it moved me. I didn't get to see it the second time, but when we did our first
we'll
fundraising
do a little
event,
teaser. My conservation talk is going to be an episode of this podcast coming up. So if you want to hear my
Yeah.
conservation talk, don't worry. Keep following this podcast.
I mean, it's moving. I've heard it before, and I was moved. I didn't get to hear it the second time, but I know that you reached a lot of people with that, and we had a table dedicated to that organization and conservation, and then Dr. Ness spoke, and he had a table dedicated. Even the Parrot Wizard had his own table, so it was pretty cool this year that guest speakers also had their own tables outdoors, so people could kind of like come and gather more information and mingle that way. Whereas last year, I think it was maybe an either or if they had time, but I mean, people dedicated time to table and present, which was really, really cool. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I have to give a huge thank you to the speakers that came out. I mean, so first and foremost, the Parrot Wizard, because he's such a good friend and he's been with me from the beginning of our summer festival planning. So he's been there all 3 years and he puts on incredible presentations. And I really like him, his wife, like their belief system is so in line with ours. Like they just want parrots to be cared for well. Like they just want to do whatever they can to like get educational content out to the parrot community so that they enjoy their parrots more and their parrots are hopefully happier. And it's just like, I don't know, I just always feel so like rejuvenated after I hear him talk. Like I'm inspired, I'm like motivated. I'm like, I feel like I learned something every time he gives a presentation. So he was just incredible. And then we had Dr. Ness there. So Dr. Ness, if you're unfamiliar, he is a avian certified vet in the Chicagoland area. He has a exotic clinic in Lisle. And he's been practicing avian medicine for so long. And I think the really cool thing about his practice is that he has a wonderful balance between like Eastern and more holistic medicine. And then he's also got deep roots in like traditional Western medicine. So you can kind of have this like very full service, like very broad spectrum approach to like your bird's wellness if you seek his assistance and his support. So hopefully he'll be a guest on the podcast soon because he's incredible. So he did 2 talks for us, which was so generous of him. He did one on Saturday and Sunday, and he had a table outside Saturday and Sunday. And again, it's just for the betterment of the parrot community. Right. Like as many of you know, if you're listening in, like getting good quality avian vets in this area has been tough. And like, I'm so grateful that the avian vets that are here in Chicagoland and are working so many hours to service the huge number of birds that need vet care. Like they're out there recruiting and trying to get more people to hear their name so that they'd feel like they have options for good quality avian medicine. And then we had our special guest speaker, Dr. April. So again, Dr. April is an avian certified vet, been practicing avian medicine for a super long time. And she was really special for me because she's the vet at our breeding program in Florida. And she's been doing a lot of consulting for us. She's really been helping us like work at getting our breeding program to be the best that there is, like making sure that our birds are so healthy, well-fed, good enclosures. She was a big reason why we were able to pass our USDA permitting at our breeding program with flying colors because she worked with me through the entire process. And gosh, her talk was fascinating. Like it was remarkable. I mean, she has so much information that I'm like, I cannot believe she's just letting people hear this information for free. Like it's crazy. And they're just doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah.
Like they're coming and providing our customers with free education. Like people did not have to pay for these talks or these seminars. they could just go and listen to like this incredible knowledge for free. It was unbelievable.
That's a good point. We only had 3 ticketed classes, and the majority of it was completely free.
Yeah. So
And from being in the storefront a lot and seeing people disappear
Yeah.
to the presentations when they're happening, and then the swarm of people coming out, everybody had just amazing things to say about anybody who
presentation, yeah,
did
was
present.
really
I
good.
mean, this is quality resource
Yeah.
here. Yeah, it's kind of sad I didn't get to hear Dr. April talk. I really
I know,
wanted
but
to.
we'll have her back. She
Yeah,
is like
I'd love to
unbelievable.
hear.
Yeah, if we can't get her on the podcast, which I really think she'd be more than willing to be on the podcast, I'm definitely going to have her back at the store sometime. So, with just her, she lives in Florida. So logistically, we have to plan in advance. But if you do want to learn more about Dr. April or Dr. Ness, we're hoping to continue really great relationships with them and want to do more educational stuff with them throughout the year. And then thank you for the nice compliment about the conservation talk. Like it was great. We had a good turnout. So we have been trying all year to raise $10,000 for parrot conservation. And so we had a parrot conservation table up at the festival. So we're currently supporting One Earth Conservation. I've participated in their parrot pilgrimages that you can learn more about on their website in the past. So I feel really connected to their work. I've seen the results of their work in person. So I felt very comfortable, like kind of promoting the work that they're doing and encouraging people to donate to this organization because I saw the results of every dollar that's been donated to One Earth. Like they actually put the money that they earn directly into parrot conservation, to training the local conservationists, to Lucky's like
He's a little
It's a
acrobat
little
right
jungle
now.
gym right now.
Okay, so but they do really incredible work, and I think we raised over $1,500 in 2 days.
That's fantastic.
And so it's putting us that much closer to our goal to raise $10,000. So if you're listening to this and you want to donate to One Earth Conservation, it is tax deductible. It's a not-for-profit organization, and then we'll put the link to the GoFundMe in our show notes. But yeah, that was really incredible. People were so generous and so willing to learn about parrot conservation. It's been a core mission of Parrot Stars since we opened, like finding that balance between working with parrots in captivity and making sure the parrots within the U.S. are like receiving the best care possible, but then also taking into consideration all the parrots that need help in the wild. And I think having that balance was always something I felt really strongly about. And then this was like the first time that we've really like put it into action with like boots on the ground, like people trying to raise awareness about conservation. And it was incredibly rewarding.
It was.
So, yeah. So I think, we had we could probably talk about this festival forever because it was like the amount of stuff that happened in 3 days was so much. So on Sunday, we had our DIY toy making class that you could get a ticket to, and Joyce designed these 3 adorable toys. So it's like you got to follow along and create these DIY toys. Then we had a DIY chop and sprout class because we work really, really hard to feed our birds really quality fresh food. And we get a lot of customers that ask, like, how do we make it? What goes into it? And so we had a ticketed class that you could come and, like, actually see every single ingredient that we put in our soak and sprout, that we put in our veggie chop. And that was really, really fun on Sunday.
That's the first time we've offered a class like that, too. So, I imagine we'll do it again probably, and it'll be even cooler. But people had been asking and asking. So, if there's things you want to learn about, there's classes you're interested in, we love feedback. Let us know. And
I had some really good stuff about the class too. People coming out with their little Tupperwares of the salad.
Fresh food,
I usually don't eat that kind of stuff, but I'm gonna say what they had and what they made looked really appetizing.
I know.
So it'd be excellent for your parrot. But anyways, it was awesome.
So both of those classes went really, really well. But yeah, I think just to kind of go back to it one more time, because I think it's so important to me, like a thank you to the staff that worked so hard, but then a huge thank you to the volunteers. Like that summer festival would not have been what it was without the support and help of the volunteers.
Absolutely.
So we had people that were helping us before the festival plan, organize, book vendors, book the food truck. I mean, helping us with all the little logistical things. We had friends and family bagging foot toys
Yes.
and walnuts,
Yeah.
just because the physicality, like there's so much to do to get the massive inventory in and done on time. And then day of, I mean, we had volunteers helping us move tables, chairs, getting all the tree stands outside, putting the raffles outside. So like literally volunteers there with us at 6 a.m.
Yep.
till 6 at night. And then we had customers volunteer that like we knew very, very well and trusted. They were helping make sure that the parrots in the showroom were protected,
Absolutely.
yeah.
that they were safe. And like, yes, our staff is capable of doing that, but there's only 8 staff members to accommodate hundreds of people. The volunteers were there making sure every single bird was safe, that they were protected, that people weren't inducing stress to them. It was just unbelievable. I mean, we had the Betty from Boston, if you're listening.
Oh, Betty, she loves the podcast.
Literally came in from Boston, showed up on Friday morning, and then
morning.
helped us all
Yeah.
weekend long. I mean, it was just really remarkable. I was so grateful.
It was really cool getting to work with her too, because obviously she's a fan of the podcast.
Yeah.
And she likes our store and stuff. But getting to know her on a more personal level, other than just like, oh, hey, you like the Parrot Stars podcast and whatnot, like literally working with her. She volunteered. She was at the Parrot Wizard dinner. That was really cool. And that's something I also just really like about Summer Festival is that we do get to know everyone, vendors, volunteers, customers on a whole different level because we're together for 3 consecutive days. So it's
Okay, I
it's
just
cool.
got goosebumps because like it is like this is what we've been working for 6 years is like trying to create like a place where we can bring everything together. All of the elements, the education, the conservation,
Yes.
the nutrition, the wellness. I mean, it's just like I don't know, like the physical manifestation of like our dream
Yeah.
in 3 days in reality. And it's amazing.
Yeah. It is
Can't
pretty
forget
cool.
about Mel too, our live music
oh
on
my God.
Saturday.
Yeah, and we had food trucks and live music
can't
and
believe
like
it. I can't believe
bag
it.
sets and
She's
kids
another-
crafts and face
yeah.
painting. I mean, gosh.
She's another local artist too, though, a musician.
Yep, and she's got a green cheek. So yeah, it literally is just people coming out who love parrots
Yeah.
and just
that's what it's all about.
enjoying 3 days of like more or less parrot related fun. It's just so fun.
Yeah.
But I cannot wait for next year.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, we're just coming off of it, and you'd think we'd be like, "Blech." That was a lot. I mean, we
Yeah.
were like tired. Don't get me wrong,
course.
but like, we already had the vendors coming to us, like asking us, like, what's next year's date,
Yeah.
so that we make sure we don't miss it. And customers too.
Yeah,
like,
guests were like,
we had. I mean, they were like, please let us know next week what the date is so we make sure we don't plan any vacations. Like they don't want to miss it. So stay tuned. If you participated in this year's Summer Festival 2024, thank you so much for coming. It was remarkable and we had so much fun. But if you have not experienced a summer festival, if you're from near or far, I highly encourage you, like if you have a dream of coming out and seeing Parrot Stars in person, and you're wondering when to do it, like the festival
festival.
is
Yeah.
a great time to do it because there's going to be so much going on. It'll make your trip really worthwhile. The people who traveled in from all over the country and world, basically, like we'll tell you,
amazing.
there's lots of like very close hotels, transportation super easy. We're like 15 minutes from O'Hare Airport. So, just throwing it out there to the
Yeah.
listeners. If you want to make a trip in for our summer festival, I highly recommend it because it's super fun. So stay tuned. We're going to have a permanent summer festival page up on the website moving forward. So if you want to learn more about the summer festival, we'll have the dates hopefully very, very soon for 2025, which I can't believe it's going to be 2025 already, dear Lord. But yeah, 2025 summer festival will be announced very, very soon.
it's awesome.
Yeah. So, well, thank you everybody for listening in as we kind of like let out all of our excitement and
I know.
enjoyment of our summer festival and the little hiccups and
Oh my
things.
gosh, despite
Yeah,
those
it's
little
all
hiccups,
so
I mean, it was a
insignificant,
success.
insignificant in
Yeah.
hindsight.
Yeah, truly.
So, I guess the biggest part we didn't shout out was the birds.
Yeah,
They
we
were
really
so,
should.
everybody did great, and
Yeah.
they were very tired though.
They were tired. Although I liked our strategy. We kept Thursday and Friday like shut down so that
Yeah,
like the
got a
parrots
good-
could rest, and then they had some time to decompress on Sunday night and Monday. But yeah, I mean, our parrots, especially the resident birds that are just
They're the coolest.
so
Phenomenal.
good.
Yeah. So, Rascal, if you're listening in, thank you for the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did so great too. And, thank you to the customers and just everyone who
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah.
It was great. Couldn't
That
have
was
done
so
it without them
fun.
too.
Amazing. Well, 2025, here we come.
Yeah.
Oh, I should say one more time. If you like our podcast and you feel like rating and reviewing it, it does really, really help us. Also, if you download each episode, that really boosts the viewership or the listenership, I guess I should say. So every kind of click, like, rating, review, anything really, really helps promote this podcast. So if you are so inclined to do so, it really does help. And as always,
Well, one more thing.
oh gosh.
Sorry. But I think not only doing that for the podcast itself, but if you were at the summer festival,
Oh, yeah.
just like send us an email or give us a call. We'd love to hear feedback
Yes,
from
that's
y'all
a great
Feedback.
idea.
or suggestions or things that you would love to see in the future that,
Wonderful.
we could work on.
Such a good point, Avery. It is a community event. So we would love to hear feedback and suggestions. Absolutely. That's a great idea. I mean, absolutely.
That's how our chop class came to be.
Yes,
People kept asking and
requesting it,
asking.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
let us know what you want to see or participate in or learn about. We're excited to share.
Wonderful. Yes, for sure. All
Take
right.
it away.
Oh, and as always, be kind to your parrot and it will be kind to you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody.